Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Newman, and today we'll be unboxing Blade of the Beastman from Mattel's Masters of the Universe Masterverse line. These 1/12 scale figures scale 7 inches in height, give or take. They're made of plastic, sport over 30 points of articulation, and come with a variety of accessories. Now before we get to the unboxing, it would greatly be appreciated if you were to like this video, if you do indeed like it, and subscribe. That way you'll never miss a future unboxing. Now, I happen to purchase this from BigBadToyStore.com. They're a great online retailer. You should really give them your business. In fact, there are a few other things in this box which I'm not actually going to be doing reviews for, but yeah, go out and buy from them. They're good. So let's take a look at this lovely packaging first before we rip it open. It's got a great illustration of Blade right on the front. And on the upper right hand corner, you can actually see the Sorceress as well as one of Skeletor's stormtroopers. It's a stormtrooper. Turning to the back of the package, we have another great illustration, or rather it's a background illustration with a photograph of the figure superimposed on top of it. It also shows all of the various accessories the figure comes with, as well as how he can utilize those accessories. Also, there's a brief bio at the very bottom. Turning to the side of the package, we have another illustration of Blade with a profile pic right up at the top, as Masterverse likes to do. Now, turning to the other side of the package, we have illustrated Teela from the film, as well as Evelyn and the Golden Armor Skeletor. So hopefully, we get that Golden Armor Skeletor, but more important, we get that Teela figure, which has never been released in any form that I'm aware of. Alright, let's go ahead and get this thing opened up. Alright, and here we have the figure in hand. And you know what? This looks really good. This looks very, very good. I think Masterverse may have another winner on its hands. This looks very movie accurate, except for the overinflated muscles, which it's just a Masters of the Universe thing. You got to have really beefy figures, but we'll round back to that in just a little bit. Let's go over the articulation first. So the head goes all the way around. It's on a ball joint. Arms go up to about yay high. There is a swivel at the upper bicep. We have double jointed elbows, but they seem a little hindered by the gauntlets. This armor and chainmail seems to obstruct the torso articulation. So yeah, looks like that's a no. Legs go up to about there. There's cuts in the upper thighs. There are boot cuts as well. These things tend to slide down. Don't like that. There are double joints in the knees, which are nice and tight. Those are good. And we have much better ankle articulation in this figure than I've ever seen on any Masterverse that I've unboxed. They're usually, it's usually a little stink. They're not very good. But this one's pretty good, surprisingly. So yeah, so articulation on this bad boy seems to be pretty decent for the most part. Except for that torso. You can't really do much with that torso. Let's go ahead and move on to his accessories. So first up, we have a sword that actually came in the plastic portion that the figure came in as well. So it looks decent. Looks pretty good. It looks like a silver pearl plastic with a black paint application. The rest of the accessories are going to be in the Masterverse pouch of goodies. Let's see what we have here. So we have the whip. The whip that was used in the Grayskull throne room on He-Man. So there's no wire in this. This is all a sculpt, but it's a very pliable plastic. And also, we have another sword in that package. It's the same exact sword as the first one that came out of here. So yeah, there you go. All right, so let's go ahead and see how well they fit into the holsters on the side of his belt. And all right, we got a nice fit here. All right, looking good. Look, there's a nice wash on his chainmail armor right at the front, so that's nice. Looks really good. Yeah, everything's looking really nice on this figure. And there's even a wash on his skin, which I don't know if Masterverse has been doing this for all of their human-skinned characters. I know they typically do it for the monsters and the creatures, but I didn't realize that they were starting to do it with their generic human characters. That's Yeah, good for them. So funny thing about this, I decided to actually unbox this, even though I typically don't do a ton of Masterverse unboxings. And I kind of already have a display in mind for my Masterverse figures. King Randall was kind of an outlier. I just really wanted to unbox him. But here comes along. Okay, this blade is a little bent. Some more mortar should hopefully fix that. So anyway, like I was saying, so I thought this figure looked really good, and you know what? I unabashedly love that 1987 Masters of the Universe film. I actually own it on DVD, and if they come out with an HD version, I will definitely buy that. So I actually have all of the film versions in Masterverse form, but I don't have them unboxed. And I think this figure is going to make me have to unbox the rest of those figures. And I typically only have one of each. And I think they may have gone up in price. I know these two figures that I'm unboxing today have gone up in price. They've sold out on Big Bad Toy Store, both Beastman and Blade. And I saw a listing for $150 for this figure. So I don't know, maybe financially it wasn't a good idea to unbox this. But I really want to make a display, a full movie display. So I'm going to be doing retroactive unboxings for a lot of these figures. Beastman is a retroactive unbox. This figure is relatively new. And look at that. So he has the Masterverse belt underneath all of that armor. So, you know, a little bit of Masterverse in this film version. And he has like this kind of brown undershirt underneath. And all the articulation is there underneath, and it's actually really good, which is such a shame that it's hidden underneath all of that armor. I wish the armor could have been maybe a little more pliable. I don't know. I'm not a designer, so who knows why they went with that. And you know what? These boots, they look... I think that they look a little silly. In fact, I actually had to go back to the film to see if these are accurate. And yeah, they're accurate. He's got those little those little triangles on his boots. I honestly thought it was just a way for Masterverse to cut some money on this figure, but apparently not. It's definitely movie accurate, oddly enough. So yeah, all in all, this is a fantastic figure. I really like it quite a bit. Full disclosure, his ankles are starting to get a little loose, so that articulation that I was applauding before is kind of working against this figure now. And there's a little bit of looseness in this right arm too. You know what? Let's see if these gauntlets are removable. Yep, the gauntlets are removable. In case you want to get a little bit more range of movement for that double jointed elbow. So, yeah, there you go. There's the figure. Looks good. I'm glad I purchased this. Just wish I purchased two. So like I was saying before, if there's any more releases for the 1987 film, I'm going to be doing retroactive reviews for the older releases. If there are no new action figures based on the film, I'll just be doing double reviews for old figures. So let's set that figure aside while we go ahead and unbox Beastman. So this release has been out for quite a while. It's been sitting on my shelf. I had no intention of unboxing it, but here we go. On the front, we have a nice illustration of Beastman with a big old skull at the very top of it. Turn to the back of the package, we have a photograph of the figure itself with all of his accessories. This background is a little bit more generic than the Blade action figure. And we also have a bio for Beastman, as well as the other figures that are in this wave. Turning to the side of the package, we have another full body illustration of Beastman with a glamour shot right up at the top. The other side just has the illustration on the front wrapped around. Alright, so let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and get this thing opened up. Alright, and here we have the figure in hand. Now, while filming this, I decided since I already did the articulation on Blade, I wasn't going to do the articulation on this figure. And I probably should have, because the articulation is just slightly different than Blade. Specifically in the elbows. This character only has single jointed elbows. But you know what? He has almost the same amount of movement and range as the Blade figure, ironically. Mostly because, well, those gauntlets get in the way of the Blade figure. So, yeah, I don't know. You know, single joints, double joints, it really depends on each figure on a case-by-case basis on whether or not they really need them. So let's take a look at his accessories. So, let's get that out of the way first. Okay, there we go. Okay, so let's take a look at these accessories. Starting off with his sword, which is a nice sculpt. Looks really good. There's a little bit of paint application. There's sort of a diamond thing. I guess engraving. I mean, it's a paint application, but it's meant to be an engraving, I would imagine. And let's take a look in our bag of goodies, and we've got some gauntlets. I'm not quite sure why these were not put on the toy itself. That's a little odd. Yeah, there you go. And we have an extra pair of hands. So the accessories are a little scant on this figure. But overall, from an aesthetic level, this looks really good. I really like the paint application on his armor. It's very detailed and it's very well done. I don't see any slop anywhere. As well as the paint application on his wristbands, on his biceps, on his forearms. That looks really good. Really good. Also of note, it looks like this armor is removable. So let's go ahead and see what's underneath this. So it's got the newer strap holders, which I like quite a bit. They're a lot easier to get off and on, unlike the classic Motu straps, which are a nightmare to get off. Let's get the head off of there. And okay, it looks like we have the classic buck underneath, just with the fur. This may have been the same one that they used for Stratos and probably Grizzlor, I would imagine. I haven't unboxed those figures. And it looks like there's some fur hanging over his underwear. Yeah, this looks a little awkward though. He has a really huge head without that armor. Now, it looks as though a lot of this armor is actually a part of the sculpt that is not easily removable, such as the guards on his upper hips. Yeah, because if you twist this, it looks like that's all a part of the figure itself. I mean, I'm sure you could remove it, but it looks as though it's glued down, so I don't want to really get into that. And also his pads for his thighs, it looks like that's kind of a part of the sculpt too. So I guess you could remove it, but you have to completely disassemble it. And I'm not going to go ahead and do that. Let's get his armor back on here. So overall, yeah, everything looks really good from a paint application standpoint. And I'll get into articulation more as I mess with this figure. So let's get these gauntlets on. By the way, the hands, incredibly difficult to get swapped out. I had to put a lot of pressure onto it. So that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. These hands are super secure. They're not going to fall out on you. Okay, now we have a proper Beastman look. Let's go ahead and bring his sword in. See how well it fits in his holster on his side. And okay, easy peasy. Looks good. Looks really good, actually. I really do like whenever a toy has holsters for the weapons for the toys. It makes storing the weapons a lot easier in case you don't want to go with the weapons in the hand. And this hand is super tight. But eventually you will get it in there and it looks really good. And it's nice and secure. All right, there we got Beastman with a sword. But since I was lucky enough to unbox this while unboxing Blade, let's get Beastman with his proper weapon. Get him with the whip. It is funny that they actually had Blade whipping He-Man in the film and not Beastman, since Beastman is known for his whip. Well, there you go. I don't know. Whatever. All right, so let's do a little size comparison with our other figure. I'm going to go ahead and bring Blade back in here. And to my surprise, there's actually a bit of a height difference. I honestly thought Mattel was going to make these characters the same height and not splurge and make some different bucks. But, you know, I honestly think that the legs for Beastman are just slightly longer than Blade, because I think the torsos are just about the same. Also, I didn't mention it, but both of these figures actually have drop-down legs, so if you want to make even more of a height difference, you could drop down Beastman's legs and keep Blade's legs tucked up. And while I'm on the subject of my piss-poor examination of the articulation, Blade actually has a hinge in his right hand in the opposite direction, so he can hold one of his swords aloft. I really don't know why that character would need to do that, but hey, it's there in case you want to do that. Okay, final thoughts. So overall, I think these figures are really nice. I think they're really good. There are a few issues with it as far as articulation. You can't really do much of an ab crunch for either one of these characters because their armor is so stiff. It's a compromise that I'm willing to live with because I don't really want articulation in that armor. I don't think it would look good. I think it would look pretty awkward and break up the sculpt. I suppose for an extra price, they could have gotten a meshier chainmail for Blade, but that really wouldn't fall in line with the price range for these Masterverse figures. However, one criticism that I won't explain away are the ankles on Blade. They've gotten really loose. I was really happy with the articulation at first, but after a while, it started getting extremely loose. So that's a little bit of an issue. And also, his right arm gets a little wobbly as well. But that's kind of indicative for a lot of the Masterverse figures. Sometimes the arm articulation, specifically in the double jointed elbows, gets a little wobbly. But overall, I think the figures just look really good. The sculpt is really good, paint application is really good. I think the likeness for Beastman is really good. However, the likeness for Blade doesn't look that much like the actor. But you can really get away with it because Blade has all this stuff going on with his face. The eye patch, the chin guard. So you can get away with it not really looking like the actor, and it still looks like the character. So overall, I would definitely recommend both of these figures at the original price. I don't know about these inflated prices. Like, if it's over $100, I don't think they're worth it. I mean, unless you really want it, unless you really like these film versions of the characters, sure, I guess. But I mean, for the price point that I bought them at, which was between 20 and 30, it's definitely worth it. They're really good. So alright folks, that's going to wrap everything up. I am Rip It Open with Newman on several socials, all of which are in my profile. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, hit the bell for notifications, and I will check you later.